I can start, sir. Anurag, sir.
Good evening, members. Good evening, the esteemed speaker for the day, Ravi sir, and good evening, my colleague today on the as a host, Mr. Suresh Kumar. And it is very heartening to me to reopen my second innings of the year today after the election code of conduct, because as a candidate I could not be part of these programs. And I am very thrilled to be part of this program because of Ravi sir's presentation. He has always been a great motivator and a motivation speaker, and also on so many topics which I cannot what's called put all those things in a single word. I'm very happy to have you today, sir. Being part chairman of SIRC, you have not only excelled in the academic field and also oratory field or speech field, and also in the administrative field of the institute. So you are a multifaceted personality, which you are a great inspirer to many of us, including me. And as secretary of SIRC, definitely I would try my best to emulate your values and your toughness in administration and your qualities of reaching out to the members as well as students. Your the passion to reach out to the members and including students is really incomparable, and I'm very happy to have you today, sir. Very warm welcome to you on behalf of SIRC of ICAI, sir. In the absence of the chairman due to some health issues, I am here to invite you all, and I also welcome Mr. Suresh Kumar and also all the delegates for the day who have logged in for this program. This topic, as you all know, ethical challenges faced by chartered accountants. For this topic, the right person who has been what's called propagating or practicing consistently on these areas, Ravi sir is there to enlighten you all. So I welcome you all for today's evening's program of ethical challenges faced by chartered accountants, to be presented by CA Ravi sir, past chairman of SIRC of ICAI. With these words, I request Mr. Suresh Kumar sir to introduce the speaker formally in detail, so that before he takes over. Thank you one and all, and I hand over the proceedings to Mr. Suresh Kumar.
Thank you, Vice Chairman sir. Actually, I take great opportunity and privilege in introducing today's speaker. Today's speaker was past chairman of our regional council SIRC in the year 1997-98, and he was two-term member in the SIRC council and contributed a lot for our SIRC functioning and streamlining in that matters. After a long practice in CA, he has moved from legal CA professional practice to legal professional practice, and now he is practicing as a lawyer on taxation matters and corporate law matters. For many of the CA's professional misconduct related matters, he represents CAs before the disciplinary committees. Many famous cases he is all representing for saving the CAs. As a humble person, he never shares a very detailed profile. He always wanted to show himself as a very smaller person, but in reality, he is a man who was a great mentor even for me in my days of CAs and during my CAs, GMCAs and all. He was a speaker who motivated and all the new generation CAs. It was a great privilege for me and for the SIRC also to have such dignified personalities to talk on this subject, especially topics like ethical challenges faced by CAs, which is really challenging for newly coming CAs on various issues. A veteran person like Ravi sir will throw better light on these areas for young members to take forward their practice. So we welcome you on behalf of SIRC for this session. The dais is yours, sir.
Thank you, Suresh Kumar. I hope I'm able to live up to your optimism, which I doubt, for two reasons. One is last 2 days I've been sick, so I didn't do much of homework. The second is, honestly, there's continuous pressure whether I'll get a call from a constitutional authority. But I told them, don't call me till 6:30. And I hope it does not happen before that. Having said that, ethical challenges. I think first we must define three terms: ethicality, morality, and legality. What is morality? I think it is principles concerning the distinction between right and wrong, or good and bad behavior. And the simple thing I can think of is the Bihar under trials case, where prisoners were languishing in jail for 14 years, 13 years, 14 years, when the punishment that they would have gone through, had they been convicted, is all over. 3 months, 4 months. After that, they have not been released. For what reason, nobody knows. The Supreme Court had to come down and said, anybody who has served 14 years, please release them. Don't bother about anything else. I think the Supreme Court was right. Because there are people who should have served terms of 4 months, 6 months, whatever. Their appeals were not heard. 6 months is over. But then the problem is that there might be a worst thug there, where for some reason they are not bringing it up. That the court was not told. Now, this is the distinction I make between morality and legality. Legally, they should not stay in jail. I have no doubts about it. But morally, was it right to keep them in jail? I have no doubt that they should not be kept in jail. So either way, I am confused to think that something which is illegal is also immoral. But is that the truth? The truth is not so. I'll give you another example. Let's for a minute assume, it's a assumption, don't go away, and since Suresh Kumar is here, I'll take his name. Let's assume that he is in love with a girl for 10 long years. And then finally one day he decides to ditch the girl and say, boss, thank you, we are parting. Is it not immoral that he does this because that girl would have said, I'm going to get a lovely husband like Suresh Kumar? And unfortunately, Suresh Kumar let her down. There is nothing illegal about it. It's all perfectly legal. So there is a conflict, according to me, between legality and morality. And Suresh Kumar is very happy because maybe he loved a girl and ditched her. Maybe. No, the other. Having said this about morality, I will move to ethicality. I'm sorry, before that, I must say something else about morality. It refers to a set of standards that enable people to live cooperatively in groups in what the society determines to be right and wrong. 30 years back, 40 years back, if you are in love with a girl and you went and told the parents that I'm in love with the girl, they would throw you out of the house. Today, if you're not in love with the girl, there's a suspicion, is this fellow a man at all? So this keeps evolving. Whether there is right or wrong is for those individuals to decide. How can anybody else decide whether it is right or wrong? Therefore, this morality keeps changing as the society evolves. 40 years back, I can't think of a lady wearing a pant and a shirt, or a trouser and a shirt, as you would call it. Today, if they don't wear it, there is something wrong. They're viewing what is this girl is old-fashioned. See how the moral values have changed. And this has impacted everybody, including a chartered accountant. It has. What is legality? Anything which the law permits is legal. And if all of you recall Section 9 of the Old Companies Act, whatever is expressly permitted is permitted, whatever is not permitted is prohibited. Section 9 had that. But in every other act, I have not seen another act where such a restriction is imposed. So unless the act imposes a restriction, it is perfectly valid in every other act. So illegality is about a statute. It is not about society. It is not about morality. It is not about ethicality. In none of those. But it's about the law as it prevails on that particular date. Now, normally what I find is, I have been doing a lot of professional misconduct cases, and someday I think I should get out of it. There is a small 4-line biodata which I sent to the ICAI, and Suresh Kumar, as he is, he concealed 2 major matters that I had written. One is of a chartered accountant who is alleged to have printed 500 rupee currency notes in his office. He was in jail for 28 days, came out. And then he came to me saying that the institute has given some notice. I said, come on a Sunday, I'll write your reply. It'll take me 2-3 hours. I wrote and I quoted some case law. The institute dropped the proceedings. Today they don't drop them. Today, however, it might be 20-year-old case, but they will still go ahead and say, we want a hearing. Come and defend yourself. When they have no time, and the law rules provide that normally you should not call a chartered accountant after 7 years. Yet the institute doesn't care. Now, this was a case where I wrote a very, very detailed reply. On a Sunday evening around 6 o'clock, I completed it. I told him, go and put it in the GPO. He came back to me after about 20-25 days and said, sir, they have dropped the proceedings. What I did was perfectly legal. It was perfectly ethical because as a lawyer or as a chartered accountant, I am expected to defend my client. That's the first obligation you have. Having said this, a little later something else happened. He came back to me saying that somebody had made that treasury seal of the Pondicherry government. Why is it people doing all this mischievous activity go to him? That was the first thought. I said, no, I will not handle it. It is at that time I struck a balance between legality and morality and said, I will handle morality, but I will not handle legality. So therefore, it is up to the individual chartered accountant to decide whether he wants to be moral, legal, ethical. From these 3 standards, benchmark yourself. Continuously keep evaluating. The other case which I did, and I have no regrets about it, was the Harshad Mehta scam. When my own ex-office, whose, his father was a partner in that firm, a very large firm. His son came to me, said, Ravi, I don't know, I'm in my 2nd round of litigation again, what should I do? I went to his place, sat and poured through a lot of material. I said, where is the evidence? Because if you're going to be hanged, it has to be based on evidence. So if you have done something immoral, that evidence will be there. And today, take it from me, every government agency is keeping a track of you. So don't do any mischief. It's not very easy to get out of large cases. Smaller cases, they have no time to look at. I was feeling humiliated when the other day, before a judge of the Madras High Court, there was a bail application of a few people. And one of the accused, though not arrested, was a chartered accountant. The judge reacted saying that, look, CS தான் இத பண்ண முடியும். Is that true? There are a set of people, I'm not denying it, but if you look at the overall percentage, it's a minuscule. They are destroying the image of this body. Action must quickly come. I'll share it today, not to be quoted anywhere. I did something which today I feel bad about. Incidentally, I'm senior standing counsel for indirect taxes in the Madras High Court. I don't build them. I'm keen on learning. One commissioner called me and said, Ravi, have a look at this file. He said, I can't send it to you. Please come here and have a look at the file. I had a look at the file. It clearly indicates that the chartered accountant's hand is there in this GST violation. I knew who the chartered accountant was. I told the commissioner a different idea. He said, sir, I want to arrest him. I said, he's a young fellow with 2 minor children. His reputation goes for a 6. But as you arrest these people, record a 164 statement from him so that he can never get out. Not a 161 statement under CRPC, but a 164 statement. I called him next morning and said, I know 164. You would have been arrested, but for this, don't ever try and come out of that statement. Whoever advises you, if I'm on the other side, take it from me. If you try that, you are finished. When I see these files on GST evasion, I can largely tell you that the chartered accountant in many cases has had a hand in it. And in some cases, he has done it unknowingly. But look at the other side. I know of a chartered accountant who was arrested, 8 days later bail. Ultimately, the case flopped. For all that he did was prepare some projections the way somebody asked him. After giving data, he only prepared the projections and sent it to the person who asked. And there is a covering letter which says, I have done it based on your data. I have not verified the data. The fact of the matter is that when they were seeking to arrest him, he ran to a past president from whose office he had completed his articleship and became a CA, saying that, sir, this is the truth. I am being hauled up. He said, I cannot help it. I think that's wrong. You can't let down a co-professional without actually going to the facts. What has he done? He's not presented to the bank. That the client presented it to the bank, this fellow has not put a signature, nothing. The only thing that they had against this fellow was that the IP address. Therefore, my first submission to all of you, and I beg all of you, don't upload any document into a government portal using your IP. The first thing, they come after the chartered accountant and harass him, and therefore ultimately the truth comes out. Please don't do it. If you're filing a return, get everything ready. Call that fellow and give him the return and tell him go elsewhere, and don't give it to him on a pen drive. Even that will show that from which system it came, from which IP address it was transferred to this. They can easily find it. Technology has gone a long way. I'll give you one example of where technology stands today. Pre-election, maybe about 3-4 months before the election, I was with a team of people, and I went there at the invitation of somebody. I had the good fortune of meeting the Google Asia chief, Asia Pacific chief. So we were all sitting and chit-chatting. One political, or I would say, somebody came in who was helping a political party. So generally, he said, the moment he came in, he said, everybody must put their phones on the table. I don't want any recording to be done. All of us honestly showed that no recording is being made. Please hear this carefully. I'm not against any of you, but possibly, I don't want to insult anybody, but possibly you're not aware of it. After about 45 minutes, he said, what is all this election analysis and things like that? We will give 2,000 rupees per voter on this day, another 2,000 rupees on this day. And on the voting day, when they come out, we will know whether they voted for us or not. If they voted for us, they get 2,000. He was quite happy that nothing was recorded. Our Google friend, he said, you didn't want anything to be recorded. We did not record it. but you must know Google records whatever you do. Google records whatever you do. And told him, just tell me your mobile number. He told him his mobile number. He was able to show, the Google chief was able to show from his own mobile this entire conversation or the entire talk given by the other man. He got so scared. He said, sir, please don't put it out in public. All kinds of things happened. Sir, technology has gone too far for us to think that the government cannot control us, for us to think that the government does not have our data. I jocularly tell people, if you're going to a house of ill fame, please leave your mobile back at home. That damn, merely because you switch off, nothing happens. No? It still shows what are the posts you have passed. Hello, am I audible? Or have I gone off?
No, sir, you're audible, sir. You're audible and visible, sir.
Please suddenly gone off, I don't know.
You are very much audible.
Very much audible, sir.
Are you able to hear us, sir? You are audible to us.
I'm able to hear everybody, but somewhere this it says connected to go webinar to webinar. Your session should begin. Should I relaunch myself?
Don't do, sir. I think the screen got changed. You can continue, sir.
I'll continue. I will continue.
Yes.
Now, therefore, please understand technology has gone too far. If those of you who think technology has not gone too far, please be very, very careful. It can do anything. And today, the government of India has better data management and better data analytics than what you and I have, because they have invested heavily on this. That your ITR portal is a very minor thing. A very, very minor thing. Somewhere somebody didn't know what to do. I can't tell you more details, but I know too much of inner details, so I will not open my mouth. But having said that, one second here, 1 second. Having said that, you must be very, very careful of technology, and therefore don't do anything wrong with technology. Your client gives you data with reference to GST returns. I suggest you send some assistant to sit in his office, prepare the return, and then ask the assistant to come away, let somebody else upload it. For the simple reason, one, Google will be able to location, Google is there, he'll be able to locate that this fellow came there. Then they'll trace him to your office, and then you're in deep trouble. So the first and foremost is to understand technology has gone a long way. Please be careful about it. What are the kind of ethical challenges? The first ethical challenge, as I see it, is the first ethical challenge that I see is that I'll give an example. Bank audit. Sir, you must sign by 3rd, sir. Honestly, we are all signing. I used to also do the same mistake. It's not that I have not done the mistake. We are all signing a bank branch audit report without putting any test data, because he does not allow you to see test data. He does not allow you to see whether the system is foolproof with reference to at least test data. And you are not entitled to printouts. He doesn't give you a printout except a copy of the balance sheet and P&L, and yet you're signing. For example, let's take a simple proposition. My account should have 20 lakhs, let's say on 31st March 2021. It actually shows that there is 2 lakhs only. 18 lakhs has been transferred to some other account, another depositor account. And from there, they have set off his loan. On 1st April, the money is all put back. There's no difficulty. Your money is very safe. The money has come back to you and nobody will take the risk of taking away your money. But is that balance sheet that you have signed right? Because you have signed A's deposit as B's money. How do you verify this? So all banks should be told by the ICAI that don't push us too much and allow us to do some kind of test data. I'll give you the example. And I felt very bad. A chartered accountant was called for professional misconduct for a concurrent audit. Now, in any bank you go to, it's a slightly large branch. The clerk knows the officer's password, and the officer knows the clerk's password. They have to work that way. There's no other option. These fellows apparently did some mischief. Money was transferred to an account for which there is no KYC, for which there was at that point of no KYC. So, you know, the bank manager, everybody was arrested. Luckily, nothing happened with chartered account in terms of arrest. Once he came to me, I said, do you have contact with the bank? He said, yes. I said, go and get the KYC that is available as of today, as of yesterday, as of 20, that period. He went and got the KYC. And that KYC was fairly old. What the bank officials have done is to fix this fellow. Said there is no KYC, he has not checked the KYC. Otherwise, this would not have happened. I tell you, this concurrent auditor was in his 3rd year of concurrent audit. After that, it has to go. Next 2 years was done by somebody else. That fellow was also in the same trouble. Of course, he went to some other person who's fairly senior and who's done a lot of professional misconduct. But for me, right is right, wrong is wrong. I don't believe in going and begging anybody. I told him, let's produce this. This was produced. They said, if it is not there in the bank, how did you produce? The TC asked me this question. I said, let's assume it is stolen. I produced it. Now, what do you say? They asked the CBI to verify. That fellow said, sir, verified, sir, it is there even on that date. See the poor fellow, what trauma is being going through. And the institute doesn't bother. Of course, when the matter came up, all the 3 matters came together. The other man's matter was to be listed first, was listed first, but somehow that gentleman was appearing for him said, Ravi, nee poitu va first. You are somebody who will fight. I will produce this. It took me 45 minutes. Why I can produce even stolen material in my defense? I produced it, the matter was, they agreed, we'll close the matter. The next man went in, he said, same KYC, we are closing that matter, we are closing your matter. Ladies and gentlemen, you must be clear on a few things. When you sign a balance sheet, largely be prepared in today's circumstances for some misconduct or the other, because some statutory authority writes something, and in the last 5-6 years, what I find is that for everything they want to take action without even waiting for your response. And see the worst. See the worst. There was an appellate hearing to happen on 23rd of this month. It did not happen. The appellate authority adjourned it to 24th. So I asked a colleague of mine, I said, tell them Ravi is not in town, that they should therefore adjourn. They said, no, we'll dismiss the appeal. They are entitled to do. You are not entitled. It seems somebody remarked that you could have logged in from where? Somewhere. You think on the highway, I'm going to sit and log in here. Now I've taken it very, very personally. I don't care about the chart account. I know how to get his life back. But I will teach the appellate authority and the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India a bitter lesson. They will learn it. If he's not in pass the order, the appellate authority. But if they say we are dismissing it with the right of frustration, they are finished. I'll go to court. For me, it is the honor of a chartered accountant. For the appellate authority, possibly. I should not talk on this matter because subject is, but I'm telling you the way today the institute and the appellate authority are conducting themselves. Now, what are the kind of pressures somebody faces? Pressure to present financial statements as statements of desire. You want the balance sheet to look in a particular manner so that you can go for an IPO, or you can do a big big bank borrowing. For heaven's sake, refuse to sign it. And if somebody else signs. Don't worry about it. The client will someday come back to it, then tell him my fee is 10 times this fee. But you are really telling me, get out. It's not worthwhile having such a client. Because your peace in life will go. Why do you want peace in life to go? Ultimately, when we hang up our boots or when we leave the world, we should still be honorably be able to say that, look, I practiced for 40 years successfully as a chartered accountant. I think that's the biggest honor I get. Nothing more than the society. See, today, I can tell you something which is purely personal, but please don't go and quote me out. And Suresh Kumar and Panara should be careful that they never quote me. I started my life with probably one pant and 2 shirts. Today, I'm living in a house come office or whatever you want to call it, for 4,500 square feet. And it's an independent house built by the best builder in the city, Seabros. For me, he won't do it even for his chartered accountant advocate. I know him for 50 years. And they built it at cost to cost. Without a housing loan, I paid him over 3 years. Ladies and gentlemen, God compensates you somewhere. Don't be in a great hurry to quickly make the buck. Then that compensation will go. You will be compensated otherwise. Today, I have 3 daily running cars at home. And nobody dare tell me that, look, sir, for the car will take X number of days to deliver, you pay the money and go. That fellow will lose his job. Society should respect you. I give you the example. Recently, my Camry hybrid, there was some problem. And it showed that report your nearest workshop. So I went and gave it there. I called up somebody whom I know too well. I said, hey, konja paathuko. He called me up and said, sir, my parts manager wants to talk. I said, give the founder. He gave it. He said, sir, yeli kadichil. He said, rat can bite, anything can happen here. Do whatever is to be done, I'll take care. He said, no, sir, this component we right now don't have. I'll have to ask for it to come from Japan. It will take at least 20 days. And you must pay an advance of 20,000 rupees. I said, so kind of you, put your phone down. I called the ED and told him, sir, he said, that fellow doesn't know you yet. I'll tell him. Part came in 3 days. And I did not pay an advance. If you're honest, if you're good, over a course of time, people will stand up to whatever you want. Largely, one superseding impossibility, nobody can do anything. The second ethical challenge you face is maintaining confidentiality versus whistleblowing. The client imposes or reposes confidentiality in you. And you know many of his private secrets. Don't use that to blackmail him. But if it is a matter where whistleblowing has to be done, quietly get out of that place. You are not expected, the law does not expect you to do a whistleblower job. That's not your job. And the law has made it very, very clear. Courts have made it very, very clear. You are not a whistleblower. But having said that, if you do something mischievous, it will continuously hurt you. Please don't do it. Please don't do it. The third kind of challenge that I think chartered accountants faces when it comes to valuations. I can tell you 8 out of 10 valuation reports are bunkam. There is some small line written somewhere which honestly hides the truth. You know, all of us, when property valuations come, particularly when you buy a piece of land, and then there is some application of some income tax act saying that, look, guideline value is 50 lakhs, you're registered it only for 35 lakhs. Please answer. We say, no. It's far down from the road. We will have to do a filling up if we have to get it valued at 50 lakhs, and therefore he agreed to sell it at 35 lakhs. These are all fine as far as legal arguments go. But do you have the record to show that at the point of time when the transaction was done, that this was the position of the land? At least ask him for that evidence photograph, so that you say I relied on the photograph. Think about it for a minute or two, or all of you. Honestly, I think I'm scared to talk before this audience, because I think, and I don't, Suresh Kumar must say if I'm wrong, I think all of you are intellectual giants. Suresh, am I right or wrong when I say all of you are intellectual giants?
Sir, obviously all CAs are intellectual people because the rigorous exam passes.
He better not contradict this statement. But how do we gather evidence? Why do we not gather evidence on these matters? Very often this evidence gathering is a slightly difficult job, but please do it. Nothing wrong in one day going late. No, the other thing which we quickly do is suddenly we say agricultural income on a land where there was no agriculture. And we get a VAO certificate. VAO certificate is available for cash and carry. Unfortunately, the Google map will show something else. So check what the Google map showed you at that day before you do this fraud. At least do that. Be intelligent enough to do that before you get into this. Then the other thing which will be faced by at least the larger firms are, do you accept attestation and audit services as opposed to other remunerative services with the same client? For example, let's say you're the statutory auditor. The client has implicit faith in you. But somewhere you feel that the client may not be as ethical as he was in the past. Best is to give it up, tell him I'll do an internal audit, I'll do your tax work, and take a remuneration which is equal to or more than your audit services, because the client has faith in you. And if he does not have it, so what? I will recall. There was one audit which a friend of mine was doing. Excuse me, 1 second. Which a friend of mine was doing. Suddenly he found that Bank of Baroda checked on some certificate which he issued. Finally, he said, I have not issued such a certificate. I told him first write to Bank of Baroda that you never issued such a certificate. He wrote. The client said, I don't want you as an auditor. Client went to the Big Four. Then started the process of digging. They wanted a certificate from him that whatever work he has done till now is perfect, that he had applied his mind. I said, you have not signed this, but please add a writer that you have not signed this certificate. The Big Four declined to do the audit. And of course, somebody else has taken it up and the matters are under investigation. I believe that the chartered accountant is doing currently will be in trouble. But see, he gave it up. He resigned. But see how intelligent some of my auditor friends are. Recently, I'm giving you examples. Please don't take it otherwise. He was doing an audit. Apparently, the auditor wanted to change his auditor because this fellow was doing all kinds of mischief. So there is a balance sheet signed which says other liabilities. And the idiot has attached the list of other liabilities. Suddenly, on the same day, there is another balance sheet signed which was 10 lakh outstanding to the auditor. That figures he has manipulated. And he threatens the client. That incoming auditor called me and said, what should I do? Has he given you consent to take the audit? He said, yes, sir. He has given me consent to do it for this year. I said, there's no consent for 1 year. He has agreed to change. It's agreed to change. Matter ends there. As far as this is concerned, please preserve all this. I never like to file a complaint against a chartered accountant. But in this case, I have to advise him, please file a complaint. Because of the fact that he will tarnish the image of this profession. And the other thing which I think should be avoided is use of surrogate advertising. This is a big issue. There is a dilemma. All the big four have a method of saying that, look, we are organizing this for your benefit, please come there. They send it largely to chambers of commerce, etc. That meeting you can attend, nobody will question you. You can have the lunch at their cost. Is it not surrogate advertising, which is not permitted by the ICAI? ICAI has turned a blind eye to it. They don't question. Because all that they do is, Ravi will not do the surrogate advertising. Ravi and Company Private Limited will call for the meeting. And that has none of Ravi's people on the board. I think the other thing which all of us must be conscious of is, while technical interpretations are fine, but when you smell something wrong, best is to get out of it. I'm advising you. I'm not saying that I have not done it. I still do it. For me, technical interpretations are very, very important because I'm a lawyer. When somebody engages me and says, please defend me, I will defend him. But within the four corners of law. Do you know that I'm still fighting a 1996 search case where 6 rounds it has happened, it's back in the tribunal. 6 rounds of assessments have happened. They have no other option but to quash it, in my view. Is it fair? When I went and told the then commissioner that you can't do this, he said, get out, I will close your office. I told him only God can close my office. No, not you. Technical interpretations are fine, so long as it is not a fraud on society. So long as it is not a fraud on society. Because public money is involved in all these large loans that are given to corporates. And therefore, if you have signed something, then I think you need to understand that you are depriving the country of its rightful gain. And today's government, I can assure you, is getting slowly stiff with everybody. This for gossip saying that, small things nobody cares here because they're too small for them to spend time. But larger issues are not being let off. The other challenge is very often you're asked to resign or you have to resign during an audit assignment. You have to resign. For whatever be the reasons. It could be because the client is not doing the right job. He's trying to fudge figures. Or you're finding that whatever has happened in the client's books of accounts is not in sync with the reality. I think quietly go away, listing out reasons. Don't just resign. List reasons why you're resigning. But make sure your facts are right. Make sure your facts are good. Banaraj Saab is not to be seen. I know for a fact. And if somebody challenges, I'll produce the chart. And I'll talk of the SIRC accounts. He raised an objection. The auditor raised an objection. He was called in by a past president and said, better sign it. He said, go to bed. He came and asked me. I said, ask him to go and fly kites. He said, I'll resign. He resigned. I don't know in between whether 2 years accounts have been cleared and adopted. I'm not too sure. I must find out. One day I'll find out. Because I know that there are two periods which were under great scanner, and they needed to be set right. I don't know whether that has been set right. But it was better for him to resign and go away, because he's at best lost the money which is invested in people doing that audit. But he's not lost his conscience. Conflicts, according to me, can be categorized into two categories: right versus wrong, right versus right. Stupid statement that I'm making. In the case of right versus wrong, it's very simple: doing the right thing. While honestly, in practice, it may be difficult, there's really no dilemma in this choice. Tax evasion, backdated certificates, opinions, etc. I'll share one secret. I think in 1984, I said I will no more sign balance sheets, because I signed the first tax audit report as soon as it was introduced. And I felt I had made a compromise. I said I had made a compromise. Of course, it luckily happened that we were not dependent on audits. We were dependent only on tax work and largely appellate work as a firm. So therefore, today when a client comes to me after search, for example, I tell him, look, I'll get you out, but at least either from now on decide to be clean. We'll see how you can become clean. You can't be clean overnight. It's a big problem. Suddenly the department will find out that everything is now going clean. So what happened in his past? And again they'll do something else. Therefore, in the right versus wrong model, you will be right technically in defending. But if you do not correct the SSC, he'll come back to you after every fraudulent activity that he does and think you will defend them. Therefore, this right versus wrong is some, see, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know. It is for each one of you take a cover at it. All of us have something called a conscience. That damn thing comes wherever we go. That damn thing. And it will tell you, please don't do this. We suppress it and do the mischief for money. Don't suppress it. The more difficult dilemma arises when there is a conflict between personal belief systems and the limited professional role being played. For example, professional conviction versus professional obligation. Projections are the primary source for arriving at valuations. Do you ever check the projections from that angle? Saying that, is this even meanly possible that such a projection somewhere near the number comes true? I think there's no method. I think there's no method. Because I've not seen that. So the primary responsibility lies in your trust on the client. If the client is a good fellow, then sit with him and ask him how he came about these projections. Then you may not have a problem. That you disengage yourself from the this thing by saying that this is as per data given by the client does not absolve. Does not absolve. All of you should go back to when Reliance first came with this IPO 1977. And along the same time, Orkay Silk Mills came out with this issue. Orkay Silk Mills was killed. they did not have the wherewithal to fight Reliance. Though in my opinion, if you ask me, RK was right. But they did not have the support, neither did they have the financial strength. But the auditor stuck to stand. Auditor, I really appreciate that auditor who gave the projections on a very, very scientific basis. So therefore, see whether your projections can be backed by scientific empirical data. There are, what shall I say, confidentiality versus whistleblowing. As part of your audit assignment, you may not be required to look into this. For example, let us assume that top few executives have done insider trading. And recently, Infosys was in the limelight for this. CBS imposed some restrictions, penalties, etc. You are a confidential person of the management, and this does not impinge, this does not have an impact on the financial statements. But the fact that there was insider trading is something which comes to your knowledge. You must bring it out to the management. So tomorrow, if some statutory authority asks you, you must say, I've already returned to the top management. If they slept over it, I have no option. But it's not that I've turned a blind eye to what was happening there. For all you know, this was not happening with the convenience of the topmost people. This fellow wanted to make money. He did something. He did something. But it is improper if he does not disclose. Because the first question anybody will ask you is, why did you not tell us? This transfer pricing is another major matter. How do you manage the confidentiality, or how do you manage the confidentiality obligations to the client with the larger financial fiduciary responsibility to the public in such cases? It's a large question for which I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer. And I can't even give you a solution. But my theory is, to know that something is not all right, please go back and tell them that something is wrong. Let's go back and tell them that something is wrong. I'm not very comfortable. You must understand that as the accountant, you play a watchdog role. So you're not responsible merely for accurate accounts, you're also responsible for fair accounts. Am I right or wrong? So there is a problem between ethicality and what I call as the dubious legality. I hope I will not be quoted outside, but I'm aware that in one large multinational case, before TP regulations were ever brought in, the assessing officer found out that these people used a dubious method to send the money out and transfer it to the head office in London. We issued a notice to them. They came back. Urgently, they came back. And they said, sir, we'll file a revised return and pay off the taxes. Please drop it here. So we filed the revised return. I assure you, if it can be done, it will be done. And the man was very, very clean, honest, and straight. They could do nothing about it. Finally, they paid up, coughed up, revised return for a large multinational, well-known brand. They'll think twice before they do any such mistake in the future, because the head office called these fellows and fired them. Generally, what I have found is when the business is under some financial stress or strain, the judgment of the businessman is different from the professional judgment of what the business can be. So this question of going concern is a big issue. And today to say it is a going concern subject to all this, nobody accepts. That's all bunkum, gone. You must say whether it's a going concern or not a going concern. You have to take the call. The businessman may still, as part of this report, say, no, it's a going concern for these reasons. We beg to differ. Nothing wrong about it. But you have cleared your conscience to say, for these reasons, I hold this view. Way back, I can tell you, way back, maybe 30, 40 years back, 45 years back. As an article clerk, I was doing the audit of BHEL Bhopal, which was the largest unit at that point of time. The co-auditors, the main of the firm with which I did my articleship then was CC Choksi and Company, which later merged into Deloitte. The other firm was NM Ravi and Company, and their lead person in that audit took a different view from my view in terms of some provision. When my partner came to review everything, I said, sir, this is what I have. He went to the records, he said, whatever you are saying is right. So he decided to give a different opinion on the balance sheet from what NM Ravi were giving. And I backed it up with data that ultimately Ravi agreed with me. But the benefit was, since this firm was an ethical firm, who did their best. I got that office, there's no question of concept of leave except study. I got 10 days extra to come to Chennai and go back, 10 days of attendance given. Today, we find that there are a lot of accounting standards. And honestly, these won't, it's foolish to say that they'll apply to the smallest of corporate entities. I asked chartered accountants to come to me for, why the hell you formed a company, sir? Everybody is signing, sir. So I also thought I should sign a company audit. Bloody hell, you are difficult. No clue as to what Ind AS is. Not that I know it. Then I start reading it, try to understand, make out some defense. Please understand, as the auditor, you need to and you must insist on having access to the most confidential data. Most companies will not give you their board minutes. They'll say, let your partner come. So when your partner comes and he reviews the board minutes, you must tell him, sir, please check whether there's a resolution for all this and whether it's unanimous or otherwise. They will not allow you to access. They will not even allow a chartered accountant to access. Forget anybody else. So that's just not possible. I'll give you an example. I was defending Reliance auditor. My biggest question was, do you have the minutes? I said, sir, I've seen the minutes. It was there. I said, can you get me a copy of at least that portion of the minutes? It's your best case for defense. 2 hearings we requested adjournment because we were not able to get copies. Please understand, the auditor is not able to get copies. But ultimately it came. We presented to the DC. The matter was dropped. So they will not allow you to take the minutes book, but please keep extracts of such things if it is important in your view. If you are doing the audit of a large corporate, doesn't matter, even a small corporate. Most of us write the minutes book. Most of us prepare the balance sheet. Please don't do it on your system. The damn record will show that you did it on your system. Don't do it. Do it on the client system. Or ask the client to, should not be saying this, but I'll still not fair. Ask the client to bring his system. Switch off your internet access. Switch it off. And then do whatever you want on the system. Not on your system. Very often I have found that, because of long years of association, you're finding it difficult to ask inconvenient questions. But forget it, ask. The client will never protect you. He'll always protect himself. You are secondary. Therefore, if there are inconvenient questions to ask, please ask. Record his answers. At best, what will happen here? He'll tell you, get out of the audit. Be happy, go. Somebody else will come in and get caught, then enjoy it. I've enjoyed many seconds. Assuming you are a whistleblower, at what point of time do you blow the whistle is another challenge that all of us will face at some point of time or the other. You simply go next morning and tell the statutory authority this burger is doing all these frauds. Because by then he destroys evidence. The moment he knows, he'll destroy evidence. Then, of course, the route is to be seen how he destroyed, why he destroyed, and then there are a lot of human elements in between. That is why the present government is trying to say, leave that middleman. And, as you go ahead in profession, please try and be ethical and fair. I tell you this morning what happened. It's something which happened in my house. Not fair to say this. My mother-in-law had to pay a tax of 25,000. And her only source of income is interest element. My wife handles her bank account. So she said she paid that and then told her that she has paid 25,000 for the bank. She got furious. The old lady got furious. She said, why should I pay so much of taxes when many others are evading? Right? Luckily, I don't talk to my mother-in-law. That question was not posed at me. But she also told my wife, you could have asked your husband whether there is any method of tax saving. And I don't like paying 25,000 rupees tax. How can that be? I mean, personally, I can share my pride to say that I am regarded as an extremely good tax counsel, at least in Chennai. I can't allow her. I know prosecution cannot happen because she's past the age of 75. It cannot happen. But that doesn't mean I violate the law. I said no. She has to pay any interest also, it will be paid. Like no interest, etc. Now the Code of Ethics 2021. Actually, it's been drafted fairly well according to me to ensure unflinching compliance with the requirements of ethics, whether in practice or in service. What is ethics? Nobody defines, and it cannot be defined. It cannot be defined. According to me, there cannot be a definition for ethics. There can be some examples. There can be a broad understanding of what is ethical. But if you notice, this question of professional misconduct was never spoken of until, and I truly appreciate Ashok Kumbarji, former president, late Ashok Kumbarji, for the first time, when he was the president, there was a national tax conference or national whatever in Chennai at Taj Coromandel. And one of the talks was professional ethics. I truly appreciate, because until then we were never speaking. You know, I used to be one of those, what should I say, a crude fellow. I went up to the dais and said, sir, just now Jain and Jain versus Union of India has been reported in IDR, therefore you are holding this topic. Jain and Jain versus Union of India was some 100, 300, I don't remember. It's an old case, where the chartered accountant created fictitious SSCs, fictitious bank accounts, made fictitious claim in the income tax department, connived with many people in the department, and took a lot of refunds. I told him, Kumbat, very nice. I still cherish my association with him. He told me after the meeting was over, he told me, Ravi, you should not have said this openly, but that's the reason. I said, let people understand. We try and conceal a lot of things. Please don't conceal. Please don't conceal. Money will come, money will go. Reputation will come, reputation will go if you do all this. If you don't do all this, reputation will not go. Do you want to hold on to your reputation and over the course of years to be seen as a very competent, capable chartered accountant, or do you want to be seen as somebody who's made a lot of money and yet the world knows that you've not been very clean? Now, you must also understand that your services as a practicing CA, or for that matter, as an employed CA, whatever you're doing, which gets reflected in the financial statements, is being used by many statutory agencies, governmental agencies, financiers, etc. You know, we read in recent times a lot of corporate frauds, all that could not have happened except with the connivance of the chartered. Earlier, they were carrying on because they had the benevolence of the then government. Today, that benevolence is slowly withering away. I'm not saying it withered away, but it will slowly go. At least for that reason, I want Modi ji back. I know that the department is not very happy with these faceless assessments, faceless appeals, and therefore they are trying to find some method or other to track you, because otherwise their coffers don't get filled. But having said that, if you decide to be ethical, if you decide to be moral, no force on earth can stop you. No force on earth can stop you. Because it all depends on what are the value systems you have. And that value systems come from your beginning of your life. If your father was, let's say, in a department where there is, then you will find at some point of time, you would have made money. After retirement, his life is never good. And certainly the subsequent generations' life is not good. Somewhere it shows. Will not show directly, it may show you that. Whereas if he has been honest, whatever you be or difficult, at one stage you're able to get over it. At one stage you're able to get over every kind of problem. I'll give you, I don't know whether I'm right, but I'll share one example with you. You know, my mother used to keep on saying, you know, that fellow's bought a flat, this fellow, you're not doing anything. I said, wait, and we had an old house which was leaking. But in 99 end, towards the second half of 99. In less than 4.5 months plus about 1.5 months for demolition of the old property. I'll give you some critical dates. I went and consulted a guru. He said, 14th April, you must vacate the house. 19th April, you must start demolition. 4th May, you will start digging for a well. 4th June, you will do your foundation. 24th June is when you start constructing. 24th October of the same year, you will do a Graha Pravesh. And this was ground 1 and 2. And you will occupy on 1st December. Ladies and gentlemen, all this happened. There was hardly any work which was being carried out inside, except that my cupboard shutters were not ready. Every other work, bathroom was ready, kitchen was ready, electricity, every damn thing was over. I see it as God's reward. How many people could construct such a thing in a matter of 4.5 months? You are not able to put up one wall in 4.5 months. And goodness pays, ethicality pays. During all these rains, my good friend, the Finance Minister of Tamil Nadu, Dr. Pallivel Thiagarajan, his security guard came to find out whether I have any problems, whether water has entered my house. In my street, there was a little bit of water logging, nothing much. This goodness pays. I could have asked him for 20,000 favors. I have not gone. Goodness will pay. Ethicality will pay. Hard work will pay. Depends, for somebody it comes tomorrow, for somebody it comes after 10 days, for somebody it comes after 5 years. So try and understand that legality is different from ethicality and morality. Something may be perfectly legal. For example, a court-granted divorce is perfectly legal. But that lady goes through a trauma if the divorce has been sought by you. And you go through a trauma if that lady has sought the divorce for no fault of yours. God forbid, but if there's a child, think of the trauma that the child has. Perfectly legal. Is it moral? I put a question mark. I could go on talking, and I must certainly thank all of you for more than 1 hour and 15 minutes of listening to what I call as the monologue. I think it's been a monologue. Can we make it a dialogue? I'm open to criticism, questions, and I guarantee that I may not have answers for most of your questions, but I'll make an effort. I'll make an effort because I don't have more than another 15 minutes at best to be here. I must thank this lady called Monica. She's not to be seen somewhere here. Monica, are you available or no?
I'll call her up, sir. 1 minute, I'll call her up.
You know, last time I had to cancel it at almost the last hour. And I felt guilty for having cancelled it.
Yes.
I felt very guilty.
Good
Because
evening, sir.
I think, good evening. Sure,
Monica,
yes,
Monica here from SIRC.
I felt very guilty. Because all said and done, while I've run away from this profession, in fact, you were saying he shifted to law, I ran away. That's the truth. Because I was finding that this pressure to sign, I put down everything. I said, no, I don't sign that. That was creating a lot of problem. I ran away from the profession. But today, I honestly stand with my head high. Because I have not done something which is illegal. I've not done something which is immoral. And I've faced every damn situation in life. And then I hope nobody has the troubles that I had to go through. But I went through humiliations and my inability to collect money resulted in a lot of problems. But over a course of time, I must tell you, everything has settled very well, and whatever is to settle is settling very well. That is life. Please take life as a challenge, meet it, and stick to your ethical and moral obligations to the society, which will include the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. I agree to today because this lady Monica will not leave me live. She would have murdered me had I not done the program today, probably using Suresh Kumar or Panaraj. But be that as it may, now at least they can't do any such thing to me. And I sincerely admire her perseverance, which almost at one point of time, perseverance was perspiration for us, for her. But I hope today I've done justice to the talk that I was expected to deliver. I'm open to criticism. Constructive, please.
Sir, it was a thought-provoking and your personal experience-driven knowledge sharing for us. See, as you take into moral, ethical, and legal, all those will have its own dictionary definitions and various things. But you have explained us lucidly with your practical life examples how these CAs had exact table level problems right from the technology recording and all those things. Actually, it's a great information and the thought-provoking session for all our practitioners to plan their activity due course in a very safe manner and a very ethical manner. And it was thanks to you for sparing your time and during this critical juncture and despite your busy schedule. Panaraj sir, you can add few words on that.
I'll give you only one example now because you've said this. 17 December 1985, I got the first search case.
Okay.
16th he was searched, and the paper next morning reported 100 crore tax evasion. The client, one of his advocate friends referred him to me. He came in the morning at 7:30. I said, "Sir, let me read the papers." He said, "Sir, no papers. No papers." I asked him, "Do you have the Panchanama?" He said, "Yes, that I have." He said, "Give me that copy." "Where are your account books?" I said, "Some small." He was running something like 400 liquor shops in the city. I found him to be an enterprising man. I looked at the whole thing. Believe me, some chartered accountant had filed 1 year's return. You know what was the address? 827 Mount Road. 827 Mount Road was Indian Airlines office then. Above Bata and above that was Indian Airlines office. I said, "What nonsense is this?" Then we looked into it. I used to go to the assessing officer. He will say, "Ravi, do you have a file?" "Sir, I don't have." "Do you have the papers?" "No, sir." Nothing. He'll call at 11 o'clock. I'll go at 4:30. We'll have some discussion. And then, but the assessing officer was a very, very clean man. He used to have a lot of disputes, number of appeals, etc. Ultimately, one commissioner called me and said, "Ravi, how long do you propose to carry on this fight?" I said, "According to me, 6,95,000 is payable. I'll give you the working. You tell me what is payable." Because what I did was, and this is something which I would request every one of you to look into the individual return. When you file an individual return, see what is the acquisition of assets from last year to this year. See whether you have the source for it, whether it's a borrowing or whether it's an earning. If you have the source, clear it. Otherwise, tell him, "Look, there is a deficit, so we'll offer this as income." And that's all I did in these 7-8 SSCs. Never fabricated an SSC. Even today, I tell people, don't fabricate records. You'll be in trouble. With the existing record, you can argue many things, whether it's a record at all. Finally, we settled it. The commissioner one day worked out. She called me. She said, "Ravi, according to me, it's 7,25,000. Where is 100 crore? Where is 7,25,000? She said, "I've gone through all your workings, particularly Year on year, you have explained every accretion to asset. We don't have any other evidence. When will you pay it? I said, penalty must be dropped. He said, pay it tomorrow and come to me, Ravi. I assure you, I'll drop it. Paid next day. I told this fellow, pay 7,25,000. He said, sir, today I don't have the money. I said, I don't care. I want the challan tomorrow morning. He produced a challan, went to her, penalty proceedings initiated. Assing officer was asked to come in with the file. He said, penalty dropped. Now, over a course of time, I got the SSC to disclose all his income. It took me time to persuade him, but persuade him. And today it's a very, very convenient SSC for me because he's got a large farm. He sends me vegetables, fruits, everything very regularly. If I call him now, he'll say, sir, 1.5 hours I'm there. The way he stood behind me in my worst of crisis, I can never forget. Every SSC will stand by you if you show him that you're genuinely doing something in his interest. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yes, Panaraj, sir, you can add your views. Panaraj, sir, your voice is muted. Panaraj, sir.
Yes, sir. Am I audible, sir, now? Sir, it was a great evening for all of us to hear you because for decades of experience and your personal cases and all these things were referred, and your talk was, it took so nicely into the concepts of what's called morality, legality, and ethicality. From that, the distinction between these three itself gave a very big punch and very eye-opener for most of us. And being an advocate, that too senior pleading standing counsel in the High Court level, we are very proud of you, sir, because we have seen most of the advocates who practice taxation would not be, as those who are not CS will not be definitely able to do justice both to the SSC and the what's called exchequer. So under these circumstances, you took, as rightly pointed out by Mr. Suresh Kumar, so many points. I noted down all the areas where you touched upon, be it accounting standards or choosing between right and wrong and right and right versus right, and this ethicality versus dubious legality. So many things you gave, professional in and conviction and obligation. All these what's called comparisons will definitely it should be in the form of some material in writing, sir. I would request you to put down these things in writing so that
I must tell you something.
Yes,
Since I
sir.
was sick for the last 2 days, I asked a good friend of mine to send me some material.
Yeah.
This entire talk is based on material that he has sent. I can't disclose the name lest you call him next time.
Okay.
But I can tell you one thing.
Yes, sir.
If you talk from your experience and from your heart,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
always good. I'll give you one example. Somebody called me on a Saturday morning and said, Ravi, I'm to go to Belgaum for a talk. But I think it was somewhere 2017. He said, I'm not able to go. I'm sick. Will you go? I said, what is the topic? SIRC survey seizure. I said, send me the material which you have sent to them. He sent me. It was on a Monday. And for me, there was a problem that Tuesday morning, I had something in the NCLT. Anyway, I went there. Bangalore, Belgaum. And I told the then chairman of Belgaum branch that don't waste so much of money on me. He said, no, sir, I can't allow the program to get spoiled because of the absence of one person. You must. And honestly, he spent a lot of money because that night I went to Goa, stayed in Goa, came back next morning, early morning flight, came back here, all kinds of things happened. But be that as it may. There was another co-speaker who speaks very regularly. He said, Ravi, people would like to hear me. So I don't want to take the immediate lunch, the session immediately after lunch. Therefore, you do it. The chairman for that session was somebody who had fantastic scholastic achievements, which I don't have. And that is what I said. I said, look, I think what your chairman wanted to do was to compare and demonstratively show that in front of such a scholastic achievement, I am a non-entity. I'll start with that premise. I also told I said, how long do I get? I said, some 1 hour. I said, okay. I put my watch down. I said, exactly in 1 hour I'll stop, but I may not be able to do more than 30% of whatever is given to you. I also promised the crowd that people will walk out in the first 5-7 minutes, otherwise nobody will walk out unless they are anti-tax people. And I assure you, nobody will sleep because the next speaker said people will sleep in the afternoon, which is right. I must tell you, not a single person slept, and nobody got out of the hall. More than 300 people. Welcome. The point is this: if you talk your live experiences from your heart, the speech will be
Yes.
accepted. If you talk something
Excellent.
theoretical, nobody wants to hear you. Are you not intelligent enough to read something theoretically? You are intelligent enough. That is what makes the difference. Chalo, go ahead.
Yes, excellent, sir. That ends the what's called our concluding remarks also. So talking from the heart with the experience, that's the great finish for the day. And we thank very much for your time, despite your what's called not so good health and being very busy today, despite the appointments that you have concern for the alma mater, which made you to postpone the defer the appointments that you had. So on behalf of the SIRC, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you very much for the what's called inner experiences or things from the heart through taking us through your experience of almost 4 decades. 4 decades plus, sir, you are now in practice.
Roughly 41.
So then 4 decades plus. So that rich experience, definitely, even Einstein has told the lot of reading that you have and the qualifications that you have will not have anything compared to the experience that you speak through. So that's what you have done. Even the best of scientists have told that only through experience we have achieved so many research works. So this research work is possible. You can touch the hearts through your heart, through your talks, through your practice and your experiences. So you have really touched us and all the members present here. Thank you very much on behalf of SIRC, sir, for your time and your commitment for the alma mater. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I thank the office also for giving the all the inputs, and Selva especially, and Monica for following up with you, and Suresh Kumar for being part of this program, and also in absentia the chairman of our SIRC, Mr. Jalpati, who could not make it today. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you all, and stay blessed. Thank you, sir.